Halfway through the company celebration, the giant screen suddenly went black. A few seconds later, surveillance footage began to play. On the screen, a man entered a manager's office late at night. He opened a drawer. He searched through the documents on the desk. Then he took out his phone and photographed several pages. The banquet hall slowly fell silent. Someone recognized him. "Isn't that Zhou Yuan from the records department?" The manager stood up and took the microphone. "A confidential company report was recently leaked. Now everyone knows who did it." Every face turned toward Zhou Yuan. Some people raised their phones. Others began recording. Zhou Yuan tried to explain, but when he saw himself on the giant screen, his voice suddenly disappeared. The surveillance footage had no sound. It did not record his reasons. It showed only a man entering an office at night and searching through confidential files. At that moment, Zhou Yuan saw another version of himself through everyone else's eyes. A suspicious man, a thief, someone willing to betray the company for a promotion. He knew exactly why he had entered that office, but as everyone stared at him, he suddenly became uncertain. Who was he? 3 days earlier, the company had been preparing to launch a new product. Internal testing revealed a serious safety risk. One of the engineers responsible for the test was injured. While organizing the records, Zhou Yuan noticed that the original report did not match the final version. The risk level had been reduced. Several important pieces of data had also been removed. The manager wanted the product to launch on schedule. Any delay would cost the company a contract worth tens of millions. Zhou Yuan brought the report to the manager. The manager glanced at it once. "You organize documents. Deciding what the company should do is not your job." The next day, the original report disappeared from the system. Zhou Yuan knew that a printed copy might still be inside the manager's office. He waited until everyone had gone home. Then he secretly entered the office and photographed the altered report. He did not have permission. He told no one what he was doing. He knew that his method was questionable. But if the final piece of evidence was destroyed, the injured engineer and the people who later used the product might never learn the truth. Now those few seconds of surveillance footage were being shown to everyone. The manager said nothing about the altered report. He asked only, "Zhou Yuan, why did you steal company documents?" Zhou Yuan began, "I didn't steal anything. I went inside because of the safety report." The manager immediately interrupted him. "Everyone who gets caught claims to have a reason." Several people in the hall laughed. One colleague whispered, "He always looks so honest. It was all an act." Zhou Yuan heard it. His face began to burn. He did not know where to place his hands. He tried to continue explaining. But the more he spoke, the more everyone looked at him as though he were desperately making excuses. This is where the direct force of shame appears. A person normally understands an action through their own motives. Then, without warning, they are forced to stand in someone else's position and see themselves again. In Zhou Yuan's own story, he was preserving evidence. In everyone else's eyes, he was simply a man who entered an office at night and searched through confidential files. His reasons still existed, but no one wanted to hear them. Before the celebration had even ended, Zhou Yuan was suspended pending investigation. The surveillance footage was uploaded online. The original clip lasted only a few seconds. Soon, it had been edited into many different versions. Someone added a headline, "Low-level employee caught stealing confidential company information." Others slowed down his expression. They analyzed the way he lowered his head, remained silent, and appeared nervous. "Look at him. He obviously knows he is guilty." People like this are always the best at pretending. The company should call the police. None of them knew Zhou Yuan. None of them knew about the report. Yet a short clip was enough to make thousands of people believe they had seen through him. This is what makes an image dangerous. It does not always need to be false. Zhou Yuan really did enter the office. He really did search through the files, and he really did not have permission. The footage showed one part of what had happened, but when a fragment is separated from everything that came before and after, a complex person is reduced to a simple answer. Zhou Yuan was no longer someone who had worked there for 7 years. He was no longer someone with doubts, motives, and a method that might still deserve criticism. He became the man who stole the files. The next day, he stood in line at a convenience store. The person in front of him was watching the video. Zhou Yuan immediately lowered his head. The person might not have recognized him at all, but questions had already begun spreading through his mind. Is he looking at me? Does the cashier recognize me? Does everyone outside already know? At this point, no one needed to actually stare at him. Once Zhou Yuan believed he might be seen at any moment, those eyes had already entered his consciousness. He began watching himself from an imaginary audience, all day, every day. 2 days later, the injured engineer gave an old email to the investigation committee. It contained the complete testing records. The Information Technology Department also recovered the deleted system backup. The evidence showed that the manager had known about the safety risk. He had ordered the team to alter the conclusion and remove the original report. The board called an emergency meeting. The manager continued to insist. Zhou Yuan entered the office illegally. That is still a fact. Zhou Yuan did not deny it. He connected his phone to the large screen. I entered the office, and I am willing to accept the consequences of that decision. But first, look at why I went inside. The deleted original report appeared on the screen, testing data, revision records, instructions sent by the manager, page after page. Finally, Zhou Yuan played the complete surveillance footage. The clip shown at the celebration had included only the part where he searched through the files. The complete footage showed him returning every document to its original place. He had taken nothing. The meeting room fell silent. The manager slowly turned pale. That same day, the company suspended the product launch. The manager was removed and placed under investigation. Zhou Yuan returned to his position. The company issued a public apology. Within hours, public opinion reversed completely. So he was the one who exposed the truth. An ordinary employee stood against the entire company. Everyone who attacked him should apologize. Some people called him a hero. Others said the company should promote him. Only days earlier, everyone had seen him as a thief. Now the same people were praising his courage. A normal revenge drama would end here. The villain is punished. The truth is revealed. Everyone who misjudged the protagonist changes their mind. Zhou Yuan should raise his head and walk away in triumph. That night, Zhou Yuan sat alone in his car, refreshing the comments again and again. Every compliment allowed him to relax for a moment. Then one new comment appeared. In the end, he still entered the office without permission. Stop pretending he is perfect. Zhou Yuan's hand froze. He opened the commenter's profile. He read the sentence repeatedly. Then he reopened the surveillance footage. He examined the expression on his face as he entered the office. He examined the way he searched through the files. He asked himself whether he really did look like a thief. All the praise suddenly lost its power. Only that single comment remained inside his mind. He had recovered his reputation, but he had not recovered himself. In Being and Nothingness, the French philosopher Jean-Paul Sartre describes a famous scene. A man is looking through a keyhole, secretly watching what is happening inside a room. In that moment, he is completely absorbed in what he is doing. His attention is focused beyond the door. He does not stop to judge himself. I am a voyeur. I am a shameful person. This is how another person would see me. Then footsteps suddenly echo through the corridor. The man immediately feels ashamed. A complete moral judgment has not yet formed. He does not even know whether anyone is truly standing behind him. But the sound of footsteps makes him realize, I am being seen. A moment earlier, he was the subject acting upon the world. The door, the keyhole, and the room were objects that he was observing. When another person's gaze appears, the relationship is reversed. he discovers that he can also become an object, a man crouched at a keyhole, a man spying on someone else. For Sartre, shame first reveals this moment. I suddenly see myself from another person's position. This is also what Zhou Yuan experienced at the company's celebration. Inside his own consciousness, he understood why he had acted, but on the giant screen, he saw only a man secretly searching through files. The gaze of his colleagues gave that image a new meaning. He no longer possessed the only interpretation of his behavior. Other people also possessed a world in which he appeared, and he could not control what he was inside that world. Sartre calls this way of existing being for others. A person does not exist only as the subject of their own life. We also enter the consciousness of others. We become objects they observe, judge, and interpret. This cannot be removed. Even after I leave, people can continue speaking about me. Even when I know my complete motive, others can understand me only from where they stand. Shame reveals something disturbing. The power to explain who I am never belongs entirely to me. Does this mean that every judgment made by others is wrong? No. Zhou Yuan did enter the manager's office without permission. His motive was to reveal a safety risk. But a good motive does not automatically make every method acceptable. People who noticed that he had broken the rules were not entirely mistaken. The real problem was that one true part of the story had been expanded into the whole person. At first, the manager defined him as a thief. Later, the company tried to present him as a flawless hero. The labels pointed in opposite directions, but they performed the same act. They froze a complicated, contradictory person into an image that was easy to consume. A thief does not need to be understood. A hero is not allowed to make mistakes. One is completely condemned. The other is completely idealized. Zhou Yuan's anxiety remained after public opinion changed because he was still waiting for other people to decide. Which image is the real me? When people called him immoral, he could not face himself. When people called him brave, he finally allowed himself to stand upright. The label had changed, but the power of the gaze had not. This is the question many revenge dramas never ask. At first, the protagonist is mocked, humiliated, and misunderstood. Then their hidden identity or ability is revealed. Everyone is shocked. Everyone regrets their judgment. Everyone begs for forgiveness. The audience feels satisfaction because the protagonist finally receives respect. But if the protagonist's value becomes real only after everyone changes their mind, they are still not free. They have moved from other people's contempt into other people's praise. The prison has become more comfortable. The power to define the self still belongs to the crowd. The company decided to hold a press conference for Zhou Yuan. The public relations team wanted to completely repair his image. They prepared a speech for him. It said, "I never did anything wrong. Everything I did was intended to protect the company and the public. Under pressure, I always stood for what was right." Zhou Yuan stopped halfway through the speech and put it down. At the press conference, a reporter asked, "Do you consider yourself a hero?" Zhou Yuan remained silent for a few seconds. "I entered an office I had no permission to enter. I know that I broke the rules and may have damaged other people's trust in me. I am willing to accept responsibility for that." The public relations manager frowned from below the stage. Zhou Yuan continued, "But I entered because the safety report had been altered. I will not allow the company to use my violation to hide what happened to that report. And I will not allow the company to present me as someone who has never made a mistake." The room fell silent. At that moment, an important difference between shame and guilt became visible. Guilt usually brings a person back to an action. I did something for which I must take responsibility. Shame can swallow the entire self. I did this, therefore this is all that I am. In real life, guilt and shame often overlap. They cannot always be separated neatly. But the distance between action and identity still matters. A person can truly accept responsibility only when they distinguish an action from the whole self. If one mistake proves that I have no value as a person, all that remains is hiding and escape. If the action has nothing to do with me, I can refuse responsibility completely. Mature responsibility must hold two truths at once. I really did this, but this action has not finished telling the story of who I am. Someone might say, if other people's gaze is so dangerous, then stop caring what they think. Just be yourself. That sounds liberating, but it ignores something important. No one can completely escape the eyes of others. The language we use comes from other people. Part of the way we understand ourselves comes from family, friends, partners, and society. Sometimes others can even see something we refuse to admit. A person may believe they are simply being honest, but everyone around them may repeatedly experience humiliation. In that case, another person's gaze may reveal a part of the self that has been hidden. So the real question is not, should I care what other people think? The real question is, which gaze has the right to become the final judgment of who I am? What other people see is genuinely part of me, but no single angle can contain an entire person. The surveillance footage showed that Zhou Yuan broke the rules. Complete evidence showed that he was trying to expose a serious danger. His colleagues saw his silence. The injured engineer saw his help. The public saw either a hero or a thief. Zhou Yuan himself also possessed only one perspective. He knew his motives, but he might not fully understand how his actions affected others. The self cannot be built only from one's own explanation. It also cannot be surrendered entirely to the crowd. A person must learn about themselves through the eyes of others. At the same time, they must preserve the ability to reinterpret, respond, and change. After the press conference, people continued arguing online. Some praised Zhou Yuan. Some believed that he had broken the law. Others suspected that the entire situation was merely company public relations. He picked up his phone. Notifications continued to appear. This time, he did not open them. He also did not throw the phone away and pretend that everyone's opinion was meaningless. He simply placed it in his pocket and walked out of the building. Other people's judgments still existed. The action for which he was responsible had not disappeared. No comment possessed the power to complete his identity for him. Shame reveals a difficult truth. I do not exist only inside my own consciousness. I also exist in the eyes of others. Their gaze may reveal something real. It may also reduce a complicated person to an image that is easy to judge. A person cannot prevent themselves from being seen. They cannot control every interpretation. They cannot demand that everyone understand the complete story before speaking. What we can decide is this: which actions must be accepted and answered for, which labels do not deserve our obedience. In the end, Zhou Yuan did not prove that he was perfect. He did not make everyone agree about who he was. He recovered a more difficult kind of freedom. Other people can see me. They can criticize me. They can even misunderstand me. But no single fragment they see is enough to become the whole of who I am. Shame is the moment I suddenly see myself through other people's eyes. A person begins to mature when they are willing to face those eyes, accept what is true within them, and refuse to treat any single gaze as a judgment that can never be overturned.